live with our AMA number. I think it's already 8 or even 9, Max. Hey everyone, how are you doing? Hey Max.
Hey, Andrew, great to hear you. Thanks for hosting this for the eighth time.
Yeah, thank you. So hold on, there's something going on Telegram. All right, so I had to stop Telegram. All right, let's kick it off. Folks, we have a dedicated chat as always. Feel free to drop your questions and comments in overnight AMA 27.6. And in the meantime, we'll go through the news covering June 18, June 24. All right, let's start with the development. So overnight, USD Plus continues to make waves within the Polygon ecosystem and continues to be more lucrative than ever for liquidity provisions. The APYs yielded from USD Plus continue to grow amid volatility in the markets. This week, we've seen a tremendous 12.6 APY like only during this week. So it kind of lives up to its narrative of being one of the most lucrative and safe space to park your idle funds. So the magic of USD Plus is that this extends to liquidity pools and makes yield farming even more profitable. So essentially what's happening is your USD pluses work in a liquidity pool. Consider the opportunity cost of having liquidity pool in stable coins apart from USD plus. For example, you just keep your stables in USDC. So you miss out this 4 to 6 APYs opportunity from when it's in a liquidity pool. And this is a very important narrative we're trying to communicate regularly. And just wanted to ask Max, just add a couple more sentences here. So just to reiterate how USD Plus works inside a liquidity pool. Can you, Max, explain this a little bit more once again?
Yeah, I think our audience already knows, but USD Plus pays you yield daily via rebase, and so this yield, you can expect in the range of 8 to 12% APY most of the time. Over the last week, we've been above 12%. The week before, when the markets were very volatile and there were some tough times, we're actually below 7% on a few occasions. Typically, you can expect the yield of 8 to 12%. What we see right now is that USD Plus, the magic is that passes you the yield even when you LP. So today on Dystopia, there is actually a very nice drop down window. If you go into the vote section, and you see the yields for each pool. There is a small question mark over there. You click on it and you'll see, what are the components of the yield which making that pool. In particular, if you go to USDC, USD Plus, you'll see it over there, and you'll see that there are some revenue which comes from the farming APR, which is we provide liquidity, and based on the number of votes, there is minimum and maximum you can collect. But then there is a yield boost, which comes from USD Plus. Essentially, USD Plus will pay you yield even in the pool. So that's what makes it so capital efficient. What I wonder, and maybe we can have some debate over here during the AMA. The AMA. What I wonder is what people are missing. Why we see that some pools with low APY generate less than the others. In particular, maybe we'll get to this, but last week we launched Frax USD Plus, our kind of test pool, which I believe is the most lucrative pool on Dystopia. It's not yet the most lucrative on Penrose. We are working with Penrose team to figure that out. Why it's not one's not the same. But generally, that's the most lucrative pool there is. Because there are some votes, it's still very small. So farming APR is very, very high. And USD Plus is providing the boost. But somehow what we witness is that this is so lucrative. I'm keeping my own money in there. But somehow our community has been missing out on that opportunity, and including the practice community. So I'm really curious to understand what's going on there. why people choose to miss out on such fantastic yield boost opportunity.
Max, I think this is indeed a very important conversation to have. And guys who are in the audience right now, we would really encourage you to get on the stage and share your thoughts about that. So the question here is, like indeed, USD plus Frax liquidity pair on Dystopia is one of the most lucrative currently. I think it's the most lucrative among stable coins. Currently, it provides 26 to 45% APY, APR, sorry. So the question to the audience, and please raise your hands and we will get you on the stage. Why aren't you in there? So like why like because we're seeing that it's not growing as much as we'd expect it to grow. Like is it that we did not communicate it well enough that it's pretty lucrative, or you are or you don't like Frax, for example, as a pair for USD plus, or something else? Curious to hear your thoughts on that. So please get on the stage and share your thoughts. I see there's a bunch of folks from the Plus community, Dark, CryptoFit, Pingo, and of course people who invest a lot. So Cyril, just it's interesting to know your opinion. And this was the next point of our agenda for the day, to just talk about overnight and Frax. We launched this pool, and currently the APRs are like among the highest which we've seen so far. Max, can you share a little bit more about how? Oh, Cyril is raising his hand. Okay, Cyril, yeah, please come on in, man. Good to see you. Hey, how are
Hey
you?
guys,
Hey, Cyril,
good.
how are you?
Hi, Sarah. Good to see you.
Likewise, likewise. How you doing?
Doing great.
Very good.
Awesome. Yeah. So honestly, it has nothing to do, at least personally for me, with how lucrative or not lucrative the yield may or may not be. It's mainly because dystopia is just difficult to work with, and it's not personally worth the hassle for me to go deal with that.
Oh,
Really?
wow.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
They're working on like fixing some things, but I've seen a lot of instances where even just browsing dystopia, it'll like freeze and then throw up an error, or if you're trying to do a transaction, it'll throw up an error, and then you're trying to work around with it. Sometimes the UI doesn't display right. So I'm more waiting until, I mean, because they launched pretty recently, right? They're still new, still working out kinks. I'm just kind of waiting until those kinks are worked out before, I start looking into utilizing dystopia as a yield generation service for myself.
Oh, wow. This is a very interesting perspective. I totally agree. There are some issues with the UI, which has been improving, but far from being perfect. Um, and I'm just so surprised to hear that this is, because I'm kind of got used to them, and it just doesn't cross my mind that can be difficult. But when you say this, it's actually really the case. It's very difficult to use it. Didn't realize that was the case. Are you using Penrose, by the way, as alternative?
I haven't really looked into Penrose yet. I know I probably should.
Yeah.
uh, but I'll check it out. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
once Dystopia has ironed out the kinks and they've made adjustments and everything is a smooth experience over there, then that's something that I'll probably look into. Like
Yeah.
everyone's familiar with QuickSwap, right? They know how to use it. It's simple. It's a smooth experience. Um, when once Dystopia is able to get kind of to that point, uh,
Hmm.
I think it'll see a lot more usage. But of course, then at that point, yields will be down because more people will be using it, right? So it makes sense if you're really seeking those yields to, kind of soldier through and struggle through and, capture some of those yields early on. But just personally for me, it's just not worth the headache.
Yeah, I totally understand. Are you using Zapper by any chance? So if, for example, we develop some Zaps, which would kind of facilitate all this hustle around dystopia and Penrose staking and staking, like things like that, would that be helpful? Would that kind of bring you over the line and have you use it? or is this still kind of where you would want a kind of native implementation by Dystopia to start working on that?
Um, I mean, I haven't really like used Sapper. I use like the bank. I use Zerion.io. Just portfolio
Yeah,
tracking and things like that. Um, kind of like I'm a creature of habit.
yeah,
So
yeah, I get it. Yeah,
a new product or service needs to provide me enough benefit to worth leaving my habits behind, essentially. Um, and so it needs to
hmm,
be like ease of use and everything like that. So that's why, like I said, once Dystopia kind of gets to that point, I'll probably utilize it. But that's kind of
yeah.
where I'm at just personally.
That's very interesting
Thanks
because
so much, Cyril. Very very good perspective here.
yeah,
Thank you.
we've had a lot of discussions internally about that, and we were just thinking that we are not communicating that like wide enough. But this is a absolutely new reason why people are not doing that. But Cyril, can you share a little bit more about that? Because well, by knowing that like the minimum you get 25% from this liquidity pool, doesn't it just convince you to move your funds there? Like the thing is that well it'll help it'll take you to have two more clicks like you'll have to refresh dystopia several times but but you will eventually get to 25 apr minimum. Well isn't it enough to go through the struggle and click a couple more times and but start earning those yields, or it's a matter of trust at this point? Is it a matter of
Well,
like two more clicks or trust that something is wrong with dystopia? What is it about exactly?
Well, cards on the table. If you're launching a product and you have issues with the front end, it as an investor, it makes me wonder: do you have issues in the back end that I don't see?
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah,
Right.
interesting.
Hmm.
Very
I'm
interesting perspective.
I'm I'm sure that they've had their audits. I've seen that they have been audited and everything like that. But it's more a case of it's too new for me to be willing to move my funds there. It's kind of like just not again purely hypothetical here. Please don't anybody take this as the wrong way, but I'm sure everybody thought Mount Gox was safe.
Yeah,
I like established things that have been out for a while, for quite some time, just to know that everything is operating as it should. I like to let other people kind of beta test products
yeah,
and
yeah.
software before I start moving my funds over. Because when you're dealing with large, significant amounts, um, it behooves you to be more cautious.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the price of a mistake is, yeah, it's
Very costly,
different
right?
order. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
makes sense. Yeah. So it's we've heard this narrative before that hey guys, you're like concerning us by the way, because like you're giving us like 10%, but you're willing us to move like a million, right? So but you're just too young for us. So that is why it took us some time to explain who we are, what we do, how we do that, how transparent we are. So yeah, but this is I would say the majority of people are thinking that way, so the upside is not worth the risk. That's probably your point of view on this topic currently.
Yeah, and I'm sure that that view will change as they've been around a little bit longer, as they fleshed out the UI issues, as they fleshed out the errors that pop up. Once they've kind of, because they're still dealing with growing pains. Any new product or service deals with growing pains. I'm sure in the beginning you guys experienced some growing pains too. And once that's ironed out, it gives more confidence to people. I think one of the things that may be beneficial, I haven't poked around every single room in your Discord, so you might have it already. I may have just missed it, but if you guys had like a good write up, with pictures and everything like that, that people could follow along with, also a hey, if this error pops up, just refresh or something like that, because a lot of times people hit that error and then they just stop, right? You
Oh,
know,
you mean on
uh,
dystopia?
no, just like if you guys are promoting a particular USD Plus pool that you want people to be in,
Oh
if you
yeah,
have
yeah,
if you have like a little how to pool guideline that people can follow, it'll make things a little bit easier because again, they're used to quick swap, right? They're used to being able to click on the pool tab, paste in the two
mm,
contracts, hit OK, and then that's it, right? They're not used to these extra steps. So if you kind
yeah,
of if you want to help facilitate that, your best way to do that would be with that little write up, with that little guide.
Yeah,
yeah.
or even a video.
Okay, this is very cool. I think it's such a very good idea. Thanks for this. And kind of really pay attention to all the errors on what to do when you get the errors. Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Cyril. Feel free to hang out on the stage in case you have like more thoughts to share. We've got Dark and James. Yeah, please come on the stage. Dark, please share your
Hey,
thoughts. Hey, good to see you here.
yeah, good to see you guys. Morning or afternoon, wherever you
Hey,
are.
Hey.
greetings from
Yes.
France. Yeah, good afternoon from
All
France. Yeah.
right. Awesome. So yeah, in terms of kind of what you're talking about, in terms of hey, we're pumping out these really good APYs, but we're not getting the amount of uptick and adoption rate that we would expect. And I don't think it's a technology problem. I think it's really it's an education, understanding, and communication problem. Kind of really a people problem. You know, these tools are built for, with, and by people that are very technically savvy in the crypto universe. And so when somebody is coming in from the outside and trying to understand all the ins and outs of how these systems work together. Dystopia, Penrose, how USC Plus is like collateralized. All these different things is a lot for anyone to understand. And
Yeah.
while it is great that we're doing the AMAs, we're doing the the weekly write ups. It's what I think is the kind of missing secret sauce is really just that entire process is it has a high learning curve for people that are maybe just getting into crypto or maybe just very interested in these types of projects. And so I think
Mhm.
when it comes to let's take a kind of concrete example. Let's take dystopia when it first launched, and even nowadays whenever you start loading in and you have to approve transactions and load something into a liquidity pool, it's a lot of different steps that you have to
Mhm.
understand what each and every single step does in order to move your money from LP to LP and stake it and make sure it's ready to go. And even when I know and understand how dystopia and Penrose is working, and I'm getting thrown errors all the time. That's like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm getting this JSON error, and it's not even a and even with those errors, you have to say maybe copy and paste that string of text and then look it up on Google and then really figure out what it does. And then you see an error that you have to go into GitHub or something and then be like, oh, okay, this is the actual error and this is how I, go through and fix it. It's a lot of different steps. But for layman person, they'll just be like, Dystopia is throwing me errors. This seems like it's broken. I'm just not going to use it. And
Yeah.
that really
Yeah.
ends the
Yeah.
conversation there. So maybe what I think uh, a meaningful upgrade that could possibly happen
Yeah.
is essentially giving more meaningful error states and error messages to end users. So instead of just throwing a random, here's this JSON error, actually say what that error
Mm.
means, parse that error, and actually say, hey, it's because you don't have enough gas, or oh, you're a couple decimals off in terms of your liquidity pool calculation or something like that. And that I think may go a long way to help kind of helping people understand, what their money is actually doing. Because I think there's also a lot of whiplash when it comes to what has been going on in the crypto industry. Like we went through this whole crypto boom over last year. We went through DeFi summer, and then all these projects crashed. Everyone was getting rugged left and right. And so understandably, a lot of people are more reticent to just chase high APYs, and what they're really looking for is, uh,
Yeah.
reliable, secure returns on their money. They want to put their money in a place that they know they can sleep at night, and they're not going to be rugged, while they're sleeping. And I think that
Yeah.
is also, the kind of the macro environment that you're launching a lot of these projects into. Is there's just a lot of mistrust in a lot of new and upcoming projects in the crypto community.
Okay. So from your point of view, what would be helpful is that we kind of publish some instructions
Yeah, I
in the
think
form of the text, kind of what to do if you get thrown in error in case of like on dystopian or and rows, right?
Yeah, or figure out, like you were talking about Zapper before. It would be great if I could just say, hey, let's just zap my liquidity into this pool and not have to worry about all those like 11,000 steps. Like that would be so much easier. Like just, yes, do that.
Yeah, that's what Penrose has started kind of doing with the zaps. And maybe we could actually use some of those, and maybe we could put them onto our website.
Yeah,
Kind of like when you see USDC, USD Plus, you can just zap into that pool. We have this farming section. Yeah, that's actually a very cool idea.
Yeah, I think, and to the end of kind of right now, USD Plus is very much married in a lot of the protocols for Dystopia and Penrose. What I think one of the, and I think Parrot talked about this a little bit, is that there's just it's new. There's a lot of errors that are going on, and because of those errors, it just breeds mistrust in moving your money from one place to another. And I think the quote that I'm thinking of, kind of off the top of my head, is by Mr. Miyamoto, who is the one of the kind of creators of the in Nintendo. He said, a delayed game is eventually good, but a rush game is forever bad. What has been happening with Dystopia and Penrose? We've been going through, and to Simsal's credit, he's been pushing out all these like really ambitious, really kind of projects, and it's been the impact of them. Because of the complexity, there's been a lot of front end errors and technical bugs that they've had to fix post-launch that have kind of soured the taste of potential investors when coming into the protocol. And so what my hope is that you would kind of recalibrate and really focus on tooling those financial products so that they actually work in the way that they intend, and not trying to kind of launch everything at once and then fix everything eventually, because I think that strategy is not going to pan out as well as people might think.
Yeah, I mean, there is. I mean, it's very similar point to what Cyril has said, and for us it's unexpected. Yeah, I mean, because, and that's why it's so valuable, by the way, because we have audited Dystopia, and Dystopia inside has contracts from Uniswap V2, essentially, and so from that point of view, we've looked kind of behind the front end. And they did the same for Penrose. And so we kind of got ourselves comfortable that the money was safe. But indeed, we did this only after, and we have professionals kind of doing the review. We never rely on the audit ourselves. We just review the code. And if it's Uni V2 inside, it's very quick review. If it's all new, fresh code, it's very long review, like in case of Penrose. But we got convinced that the funds were safe. And that's why we kind of don't pay attention so much to the UI, because most of the time we honestly deal with the contracts on the contract-to-contract level and bypassing UI. But you are bringing the perspective which we were missing because of the way we function, and I actually appreciate this input a lot. So it's really the UI issues, but then kind of finding ways around it with communication, but also with maybe zaps or kind of alternative front end. On the overnight advice website, something like that. Yeah.
Imagine if you didn't have to go through those, all those different steps.
It's
James. Go ahead.
How is everybody?
Go for it.
Hi, James.
Not hearing
Hey, James, can you hear us?
anybody.
I think he went back on mute.
Yeah, he went back on mute.
Uh,
Okay.
Just let us know when you're ready to speak. Sorry, I put you on the stage, but yeah, thanks for being so patient. Yeah,
Talks dark. I think. I mean, we agree. But before we finish this part, how do you feel as the dad?
How do you feel sorry, what was the
As
last
the
part?
dad. As the dad. As father.
It's not happening just yet, but he's yeah. For people that don't know, I'm have a kid on the way, kind of expecting him to come out sometime mid to late July. Hopefully, stays till late July, so I have a little bit more time to mentally and logistically prepare. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm nervous. I'm happy. All those things kind of rolled into one. It's been a ride. It's been a ride for sure.
So yeah, well, count on us for some support, and if you need parenting advice, we have
Yeah,
plenty.
yeah,
But probably everyone
definitely.
has to figure it out on their own. Thanks, man,
Indeed.
for being with us. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate it, guys.
yeah, definitely. James, yeah, are you ready to share your thoughts about the matter?
Yes. Do you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Hi, James.
Cool. Hi. So I just wanted to say, like, I don't want to be defensive of Penrose and Dystopia. I've been there for about 2 weeks, and I threw just a couple of thousand over there just to play and understand because I'd never really even played with pools before. Since I found you guys in about a month now, I hold all my funds in USD plus, and
Thank
I
you.
put
Thank you.
I put it. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm big on Sphere, and I like everything that Sim has done. And when it comes to the error messages, I agree with both you guys. I can't dispute any of those things. And that's why I didn't move tens of thousands. I just put a couple of K in. Sorry, I'm cold. If my voice sounds shaky, I'm just a little bit cold. The wife has the AC on. Anyway, um, so the error messages, most of the ones that I've seen, the JSON ones, and I've encountered them as well. Um, they mostly have to do with decimal place issues. You do have to refresh
Yeah.
often. It takes a little bit to refresh. And again, I've only been into this stuff for about 6 months. Tell you honestly, the
Yeah.
interfaces I found it's pretty and all. They do function. It's a little slow. And again, I didn't throw thousands in because it's like your two previous one gentlemen back said. The error messengers are discouraging, and you're not really sure. So that's why I didn't throw lots in. And like I said, I started with just a couple of thousand. I was only seeing maybe $10 a day, and I'm up to about
Yeah.
25 to $30 a day. I'm in a variety of both stable and I like to play a little bit. Only a couple of hundred in each, but it is doing
Mm-hmm.
what it's supposed to be doing, from what I
Mm-hmm.
can see, and it's very positive. I am waiting for the next big correction so that I can capitalize on a bunch of different things. But to me,
Mm-hmm.
my train of thought and thinking was, I don't think this is going to go away anytime soon. Yes, absolutely on the adoption thing, it's going to take a little bit. People are afraid it's new, and just the market alone, what your last person said, I think a lot of people are just scared crapless about what happened with USDT and all Luna, all of these different things that are still yet going on. So
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you guys all. The only thing that I was maybe going to suggest is, you know, if you're hesitant because of the error messages and other things,
Mm-hmm.
like I've seen them too, but you don't have to throw in tens of thousands. You can throw in a grand or two, test it out, play with it, and see what what's all transpiring and going on as well. Just my 2 cents. Again, I've been there 2 weeks. It's all functioning properly. It's working well. The original money I put into $500 into USDC, USD plus, it has grown a little bit. It's still there. Everything that's happened, the correction happened, and I was like, oh, thank God I put it in there.
Thank you, James. what I wanted to ask, how do you select the pools which you invest into? Because I've been looking at very stable to stable pools. Of course, in my view, people first decide whether they want stable to stable pools or stable to crypto, because there's like one big choice. And a lot of people in our audience like stable to stable because of lack of impermanent loss and kind of because of the market essentially. But then there's on Dystopia, there's a variety of choice. We all love USDC, USD Plus. But there are other choices too, like USDC DAI, USDC, USDT, and we love USD Plus Frax. As I said, I'm keeping some money over there because I had to seed the pool, obviously, to start it with. But then just noticed that it's just so lucrative to keep money over there. So I just cannot understand if people are comfortable with dystopia as much as you are. How do they discover, or rather not discover, a pools like USDC plus USDC plus Frax, USD plus Frax, and why why anybody allows this pool to be so attractive and stay so small?
I think if I might interject here, maybe the
Yeah.
potential issue there is that people don't trust Frax or don't know enough about Frax. Maybe education is the piece of it there. Maybe just a quick write up on what is Frax, why we're using it, why we chose it as a pool, and why it's the highest APY right now might be a good way to help
Yeah,
that kind of
on one
understand
hand,
portion of it.
I would agree with you because Frax is semi-algorithmic, and so for my purposes, semi-algorithmic is algorithmic. But if you look at it, USDC Frax is a huge pool. It's less attractive than USD plus Frax, and a lot of people have put money into USDC Frax. So, and Frax is like fourth stable coin, like fourth token on Dystopia after USD plus. So I see that a lot of people kind of are okay with investing to USDC Frax. And I just wonder, why are they not okay to switch to USD plus Frax? It really kind of bothers me since over like for the entire weekend. Somebody in our Discord wrote, people are really missing out, and I thought there would be a flood of people. Nobody came. We called up Frax and said, guys, maybe somebody is not comfortable with Frax, but your community of 50,000 people must be comfortable with Frax. Let's publish, how attractive it is. They put it onto Twitter and published, and there were a lot of responses, but then people are not coming. And like, what is going on over here?
Yeah, I think, I've been talking a lot, so I don't know if James wanted to add anything to that. I don't want to steal his spotlight.
I think James is is something. There's an issue with James's microphone. James, we cannot hear
Okay.
you, James.
Gotcha.
Yeah, James.
To that,
Cannot hear you.
poor guy.
Sorry, Dark. Please go ahead.
It's okay. I think it's we can maybe the audience is getting tired of this question now. Maybe we can just park it as an answer.
No.
If
I
they
think
speak
there are people that are interested in Frax. There are people that are interested in USDC, or excuse me, USD plus. And where that Venn diagram kind of comes together that's what we need to figure out is what are those two kind of pools of people converge, and what are we missing from there. So I would almost say the maybe even just doing kind of a a side by side comparison. Hey, we put $1,000 in the USD Frax pool, and we put $1,000 in the USD Plus Frax pool. Which one is performing better over the course of this time? And that might be a pretty good way to kind of attract people and be like, oh wow, yeah, the Frax pool might be something that I'm interested in. But I really do think it is the macro crypto environment right now where everyone's just scared to kind of move their money into anything new. and so it's going to take a lot more of
Yeah,
heavy lift to
yeah,
take
yeah.
anyone's
I think
liquidity.
when Dystopia was launching, I think it would have been much easier to attract people into USD Plus Frax. And now that people have settled a little bit into Dystopia, Penrose have taken certain positions. Be that USDC Frax, be that USDC DAI, USDT DAI, USD Plus USDC, people are less inclined to switch probably. So it's
Yeah.
probably going to take more effort than that.
And there's
But thanks for this.
also, isn't there like a warm up period on Penrose for when you start initially staking in a pool? I don't know if that's the thing or not still.
Warm up period, what do you mean?
I know when it initially launched, like people didn't have a lot of, they weren't receiving the
Oh
the
no, that's
reward
over.
rate.
It was
Okay,
they had
that
like
one's
whale
solved.
protection, but that's gone. Yeah, so
Gotcha.
it's not
Okay.
it.
Hey guys,
Thanks, man.
quick comment on the Frax pool. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
We can.
Yeah, I was just going to say. So I think part of the reason why the APY or APR on that is high is that there's so little in it. So if somebody were to come in with a significant amount, the APR would get crushed, and people take that into consideration before making those moves.
That's a good point. So when you see it small, you realize that if you put in, I don't know, 200,000,
Exactly,
APR
it'll be
will be very
less
low.
than the other pools, and so it's
Yeah.
just less attractive. It's basically very, what's the word, elastic to incoming funds.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
basically, if you
sensitive.
have a pool that has like 2 million in it, you can throw another 200K in and not affect the APR as much as if there's a pool that has like 70K. You would basically
that's
see that through before you even make those moves.
Yeah, but it's exactly
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
why you would get into this pool early on, even with not a lot of money. Like just to take those APRs, and whenever it grows to 2 million, you can choose like to return back to USD plus USDC.
No, but like even if like let's say you have 100K to invest, if you put them in the Frax pool, the APR is going to be lower than if you put them in the USD plus USDC pool.
Yeah, that's true. That will have.
Yeah.
Well, because it's
it'll be less
USD
than
plus,
half.
it's actually it will not half if you. So if you put in the same amount, so double the TVL, a typical pool would have an APR. The pool with USD Plus will not, because USD Plus, like the more USD Plus in the pool, the more yield USD Plus is providing. So kind of the drop in APR will be less steep. But I totally see what you are saying. I think people
and the other part is
APR
the
as opposed to the current
the
one.
votes are like on Dystopia. The votes are higher on the USD plus USDC, so they're getting more Dystopia rewards. The other one just has a very few number. Yeah. Okay. Just wanted to throw that in there.
No, that totally makes sense. Yeah. This makes a lot of sense. Cool. All right, let's move on, guys. We've been discussing this. It's a it's pretty important topic for everyone. And moving on, if you have ideas on how can we like what kind of materials can we develop and and post it, please feel free to share it with me, with Max, with anyone, with Abdul, anyone in our Discord, guys. Dark, you mentioned that we could develop something like that. Where do you see we can post it so that it's visible to many people? Because the coverage issues is pretty significant. Like we will invest some time into developing those materials. Where do you see it's like worth promoting? Let's put it that way.
I think YouTube is a great place. Twitter, of course, is like kind of the second home of crypto. So I'd say those places are pretty. You get the most kind of bang for your buck. But if you're trying to reach more and more retail investors that may not know about your product, just doing performance marketing in, say, for example, kind of Instagram, TikTok is a really, really great platform to go to. And only reason I can speak to that is because I work at a social media company, so I know the numbers and they do work.
I know. Yeah, definitely. No, this is a great idea, and Well, we haven't used really the performance marketing so far because we just want to start, just from the community and make sure that it's working before we start bringing in new people who are way not as educated as you guys. But yeah, probably it's the time if we start discussing these things, and probably it's the time to go to go out there and start promoting USD Plus.
Yeah, it's always hard to it's always hard to kind of cast your net out there, but what it also does is helps you kind of battle test your number one, your messaging, your product, and your user experience. Because when somebody who knows nothing about your project comes in and starts onboarding and they start getting stuck in the journey somewhere, that's a great indicator of things that you need to fix in your experience. So I think it's actually, it might actually be a good thing for USD Plus to start getting, people that are completely crypto newbies to try and onboard into the system, because then that's going to show you where the biggest friction points in your experience are. And it's going to allow you guys to start seeing like, oh, wow, it's really hard to, get a wallet for the first time. Let's focus on that education piece of it. Or, oh, getting liquidity is really, really difficult, and you have to do a lot of different confirmation. You have to do an understanding around that. Maybe we make some sort of Zap product that allows us to, do that in one click. Things like that. I'm just spitballing here. I'm just brainstorming, but it's not a bad thing to get new blood into the system, because it will help you stress test where your blind spots are.
Teach off Harvard. Yeah, thanks, Dark. I think this is extremely important, and this a series of educational series is something that we're starting to discuss right now. So might be something that will come up with at some point. T-Chop, can you share a little bit more about Harvest Finance? You dropped in chat.
Yeah, so Harvest Finance is kind of a yield aggregator that's been around for a while, and they do like corporations and like AMAs with projects that are in that space. So I'd say it's a platform where a lot of people will learn about newer projects and then investigate those. So I was just thinking I could be a partnership or some kind of corporation for you guys to promote USD Plus a little more.
Got it. Yeah, wrote it down, looking at it, and we'll look into that later on. If you have someone who you can connect us with there, that would be fantastic. We'd highly appreciate that.
They're usually really responsive if one of you guys, like from the project, just goes into their Discord, and then I think they have a specific channel, like DeFi collaborations in there.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And I guess one other question I had is like, have you guys looked into what would happen to USD Plus's yield? Let's say if somebody came in with like 10 million overnight, like how sustainable are the yields that you guys are seeing at a, let's say, at a much larger amount of funds placed in those projects?
Yeah, Max, you're muted. Max, please. Max, you're muted. Because I see Max on the picture, like, so we're in video chat as well. So like it's in Twitter, it's video, so I see him speaking, but without saying anything. All right, Max is trying to reconnect, I believe.
Guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can now.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for this tick hop. It's indeed we looked at it, and so far the biggest investment was 500,000 into USD Plus. So what we see is that, I mean, 10 million would be hard to digest very quickly, but we have a pipeline of investment strategies where we can deploy liquidity. So my estimate would be that if somebody, well, let's say not 10 million, but like 4-5 million, which is kind of realistic. So in this case, the yield temporarily would drop to the level of 8%. But 8% for is we know how to deliver at this point in time. And generally, we believe, kind of the market yields at the moment are in the range of 8%, 8 to 9%, just because dystopian pinrolls are launching and trying to grow. There is an overpayment, if you wish. They're paying a premium to the market.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity kind of to grab this, but at the moment, I think 8% is kind of market level, and that we can deliver.
Okay, that's great to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I think it's the time to wrap up this AMA, guys. Unless you have any more questions, I'm not seeing anything in chat or raising hands. Um, so yeah, let's make a like 5 to 10 seconds of awkward silence in case you have anything. And if no, we'll call it a day.
I have a random question. What's your favorite food?
I can probably start, Max. Like I'll give you a second to think about. Like my favorite currently is a salad, a very specific type of salad. Here in the States, the kind of the like the groceries is like it's of a very high level, like high quality. So like I have a very specific type of salad which I do. It's tomato, it's avocado, it's feta cheese, balsamic vinegar, olive oil, basil and oregano on top of it, a little bit of sesame seeds, and what's that? Yeah, I think that's it. So just try that out, guys. It's just fantastic. But the cherries, like the tomatoes, has to be really good. So so yeah, this is my choice, and of course, like plus meat to that. Max, your turn.
I mean, I like steaks, so I really like good steaks. Yeah.
Nice. Do you have like a favorite type of cut, like a ribeye, a fillet?
Yeah, I like ribeye, medium rare. I just, yeah.
Me too. It's a great cut.
But you, Dark, do you have anything interesting?
Yeah, I've been actually the same as Max. I've been actually getting into dry aging steaks, and so that's been my jam lately. And so yeah, I've been dry aging a ribeye right now in my uh in my fridge right now, and it's on day 17. I got about 10 more days till it's ready.
Something new. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, it's a interesting process that just kind of brings out a whole different flavor in the meat and tenderness. It's awesome. Dry aging is great.
Thanks, guys. Yeah.
I'll review that. We've got Sporkman joining us on the stage. Hey, Spork, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me up, guys.
Sure. Did you have a question?
I do. So I'm a very new, naive investor, and I guess just the simplest way to ask my question is: so say the Frax USD Plus pool. If I put in my money, what are my earnings, my gains in?
Okay. Yeah, let me try to explain that. So essentially, you will have two types of earnings if you put your money there. One type of earning is the earning from USD Plus. As you already might know, USD Plus is a yield-bearing stablecoin, which
Yeah, I
provides.
understand all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. In addition to that, you will receive rewards from Dystopia in the form of DIST tokens. So they are incentivizing liquidity pair, and they are incentivizing this specific liquidity pair. And currently, they are giving 26 to 45% APR. So essentially, what's happening is that you buy, like, you have two tokens, USD Plus and Frax. You provide this liquidity on Dystopia, and every day you see rewards. There is a reward section. Every day you see rewards in the form of DIST. So what I do is I just sell those rewards right away, and I mint new USD Plus and Frax, and I provide liquidity back to the same pool. So essentially, my APR becomes APY, and it'll give me even like bigger percent. But again, it was really rightfully mentioned by T-Chop that those rewards are extremely high because it's just a new pool. They will go down to something like reasonable. I don't know, 10, like 12, 20, like 10 to 15, 12, 20% probably. But now it's extremely lucrative. And why it's good? Because it's stable, right? So I'm not exposed to volatility of a token, which is not pegged
Yeah,
to a dollar or something.
yeah. But Sporkman, you mentioned you are new. I don't know if you're new to DeFi or new to.
Max, you just disappeared, Max. Sorry. If you're new to DeFi or you're new to, we stopped hearing you. Max, we can't hear you. Can you reconnect, please, Max?
My liquidity pool token staked in Penrose, I assume my rewards are going to come strictly just in Penrose.
Yes, correct. So once you stake your LP token, Dystopia token into Penrose, all the rewards start coming from Penrose. You get no longer anything from Dystopia. But if you
I guess my
go ahead.
question is then, if the rewards are strictly in just Penrose, what's the mechanics of that token to just keep it from diluting? If it's just constant rewards and then sell pressure to exchange for, say USD plus, what's to stop the Penrose token from just devaluing and then essentially lowering your effective APR?
Well, what will happen in the future exactly, we don't know. But I think the model by Penrose is that they're also incentivizing their Pen token be locked in for voting. So from this point of view, I believe, they're actually trying to maintain high price of Pen. Also interested in a very high price of DIST, which they're also looking for 4 years every time. And through this mechanism, they're trying actually to avoid the dump rather than stimulate the dump. What they're fighting against is that a lot of yield farmers who are farming the rewards and dumping them in the market, which is a fair kind of strategy in this case. A lot will depend on how much kind of battle power Sphere and Penrose team have behind them to make sure that enough pen gets locked in and not much gets dumped. So we'll see about that. But what I wanted to mention, Spork, is be careful with with honestly with USD plus Frax or like any other Frax token, because we kind of I spent a lot of time kind of exploring all sorts of DeFi protocols. I understand the risks, and Frax is somewhat of an algorithmic stablecoin. I like investing in them right now because I think at the moment they're reliable, or like they meet my risk criteria. They do not meet the risk criteria of USD plus, but for my personal investment, I find that acceptable, USD plus Frax. But it may change at any point in time. So if you're looking for something very stable, USDC, USD Plus is much better choice. If you look for something,
I've been following the USD Plus, and I like the model you have there. It's just I think that's some of the hesitance with investors getting into dystopian Penrose is just where those tokens going. If you're making the APR and those tokens and they constantly devalue just because there's sell pressure.
No, but there is locking of these tokens in particular, and actually the amount of emissions of DIST are linked depend on the amount locked. So the less locked, the less the emissions are. The more locked, the more emissions are. And so there is this kind of self-balancing mechanism, which is part of the dystopia, which comes from Solidly, which is there to regulate the supply and make sure that this token stays expensive.
Okay, maybe that's the specific avenue I need to go down and study to kind of get more comfortable with that sense of this.
Yeah.
Are there any specific resources on that specific statement you were just saying?
I'm not sure I hear you well. The ways to study this kind of how this amount of emissions work and how these emissions are linked to the amount of locked. I think you can just Google this, but a lot of it is actually really copied from Solidly blockchain. Yes, this mechanism was developed on Phantom, but this by this very famous developer who had invented Earn, called Andre Cronje, and he developed this mechanism. And this was his last project. He tried to launch it on Phantom, and then he left. And where Sim and Belbix come from when they launched Dystopian Penrose is that they used that mechanism. There were some issues there which Andre didn't think about very well in terms of organizing the governance. They fixed those. But this mechanism for balancing emissions and the amount locked by balancing, kind of providing more yield to those who vote for the same pool and provide liquidity, those mechanisms they actually have kept intact from that. So the best source of reading is to read about Solidly DEX, and mechanisms are very similar.
Yeah. And
Awesome. Yeah, that'll be helpful.
And I just tagged
Yeah.
you in the AMA chat. We released an article last week about why dystopia is better than solidly. What problems is it solving? Give it a read. Overall, like the main source of information to research about a protocol is their docs. So you go on their Medium and you read about how things are working. That's exactly what we do. If people ask us questions, hey, how USD Plus is working in a liquidity pool, we create an article about that and try to explain it there so that next time people have the same question, we just paste the link. So the same research I did for dystopia as well. You just go there and read there. Um, Again, but it's like you were asking about locking mechanism. So if you really want to lock, that's the way to go. If you want to dump, it's like right away. It's a different strategy. So yeah, just totally up to you.
Jens, I just wanted to finish answering Max's question. Do you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah,
We can,
yeah,
Jens.
yeah.
Yeah. So it was a bit about the different pools, and I think most people who get on there go straight into the USD plus USDC. From what I've seen and what I've heard, once you're in a few of those pools and you're making a little bit of APR, it all feels good, looks good. That's when I think some people play a little bit more of the volatile pools. That's really been my feel, and I think most of the people that are there right now, the little people like myself, are basically just trying to feel it out. Like my idea was throw a little bit of money in and waste a bit of gas money just to understand it all and feel it all, and that's how I like to work things, rather than always wait. And I think till it's a proven thing, it for me over the last 2 weeks again, for those who were skeptical or not doing it or not trying it out because of the odd error messages and JSON errors. Again, from what I've seen, most of those have to do with decimal place issues and stuff like this. If you remove some of the extraneous 10, 15 zeros off the end of it, generally it works without issue. But I think most people who are there right now are just trying to build their base. All I've been doing is stacking, compounding, and to the gentleman's point of the dilution and everything of this. Yeah, that's something that I've been thinking about too. Um, Again, this is just a baby 2 weeks old, right? And from my point of view, I'm just trying to, and I think for myself, I've proved out. It is annoying. There's all kinds of GUI issues, little things with voting, not updating quickly enough, and everything else. But those will get sorted out. That's
Yeah.
my opinion and my feeling of it. Most people go directly to your pool first. That's what I've seen. There's a couple of guys that I think have on the Discord that I'm talking to that have a couple of 100K in the USD plus USDC. That's all they do, and that's all that they bank on. So
Mhm.
I,
Wow.
I'd like to see more people go and play and experience it. Um, but I totally understand everybody's intrepidation and the macro climate that everybody's spoken about, because everybody's talked about the fear in the market and the fear of getting into something new. Um, I can't. I don't know what else to say other than, you know, on the ones that you feel, and to me, everything that Sala has touched is doing well. Considering the climate, just my opinion that we're in, and tattoo. I have tattoo, and I had a little bit of these extra little things in my wallet, even Koji coin, and I threw those into Penrose, and amazingly, they're making me, two, three, $4, $5 a day. Some of these things. So I guess from my point of view, I've proven out, and I only put a little bit in to test it out to see how it works and everything else. Sims new toys. Um, I could only wish. Hopefully, I'm you know, hopefully I'm conveying some form of confidence to people. But to me, it works, and it's making me a little bit of money. And all I've been doing is compounding and stacking, compounding, stacking. My plan is in 3 to 6 months from now, when the market has changed, I'm pretty sure that place is going to be busy. And most of us who are there now will be sitting pretty. But thank you guys, because USD Plus is the best thing on the planet, in my opinion.
Thank you, James. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, James.
Thanks.
Yeah. And James, I'd love to have a like more in-depth conversation with you if you don't mind. So like just to hear your journey, because this is a very interesting journey, for someone who's just exploring the area. And yeah, I'd be curious to know more about what we can do better to like to educate, to onboard people. Would be great if you could just spend some, like, I don't know, 10-20 minutes to chat with me about that.
Yeah, not a problem. I don't mind sharing, again, my experience. And I've only really been, in this world for about maybe 6 months or so, to be honest with you. I've heard about DeFi, I'd heard about Bitcoin and all of these things, but never really paid much attention. I did a little bit of mining end of last year, and I'm still doing a bit of mining, but it's rather warm. It's hard to sustain mining right now. But anyway, so I got into, first some node projects and stuff, like most people, and they're doing, very poor. Some are struggling. Hopefully, they make it out the end, and if they do survive the winter, then there's potential for them. And I think that is any and all projects right now in this market, in this climate. And we all know there's still corrections to come. I believe the bear is still in front of the bull and hasn't crossed over yet. So that's potentially months away. So, to me, I'm a newbie, and I've, stumbled upon Sphere, realized what it was, invested not heavily, but invested a few $1,000s. I think I'm sitting pretty there. I know that that's a waiting game. Anybody who survives this climate is going to come out the other side screaming, yelling, happy. And I think Dystopia Penrose is, wow, well positioned. And in the last 2 weeks, I think has done pretty well, considering the scary marketplace out there. Right. That's just my
Exactly.
personal opinion. But I'd love to stick with you guys
Yeah.
and share with you guys. I've learned a lot sitting on the Discords, listening to you guys and listening to the guys on, Penrose and Dystopia, just listening and asking questions. I'm sure most of those guys are rather annoyed with me. I'm not a young man. I'm in my 50s. I hope to retire in the next, 5 to 8 years. And, I've I know this is the future. I know this is, yeah, right. It's the way to go. It's the way to go. It's the biggest wealth generation, the biggest wealth transfer is coming, and it's going to be all in decentralized. That's happening over the next, what, 5, 10, 20 years, right? It's not going to get any smaller. I think so.
Thanks, James.
No problem. Yeah.
Well, I'd love to thank everyone who was today on the stage contributing to this wonderful great AMA. It's a little bit different than what we have usually. So it's more a discussion, and we were asking a lot of questions. So thanks everyone who were today on the stage and the our plus community. Stay tuned and see you next week.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. You guys can ring me up anytime or ping me. Yeah. Cool. All right. Cheers.
Bye.
Take care, everybody.
Андрей, привет.
Сейчас, одну секунду, Макс, я здесь
Тебя не слышно. Ты меня слышишь?